This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
Looking into, obviously, Isiah Rodgers on his big return and why he was out for the amount of time that he was. Is he ready? Do you feel comfortable with it? And a specific player on the trade block? Could it be, Howie? Could it be that something so strange and so weird could happen? We're going to get into it. Let's go.
A killer buried, but not dead.
Darren, we better turn around. Because I've seen enough horror movies to know any weirdo wearing a mask is never friendly.
Yo, what is going on, guys? I hope everyone's having a fantastic day. Hope everybody is enjoying, well, really the start of their weekend. And obviously a few more days until our Week 2 matchup against the Atlanta Falcons on Monday Night Football. But obviously leading into this moment, we've obviously had some answers on the defensive side of the roster. And one is Isiah Rodgers now coming back as the number 2 cornerback of the Philadelphia Eagles. And before I get into the rest of this video is sponsored by BetUS, and here's a word from our sponsors. If I'm the betting man, then I am, and you're rooting for the Philadelphia Eagles, this is the redemption year for Jalen Hurts. This is the year we get the bad taste out of our mouths from last season. If I'm going all in, ride or die with a Super Bowl and bringing that Lombardi trophy back to Philadelphia for a second time, you need to go to BetUS, and I'm not wasting any time with it. I'm putting $500 down as the risk and getting $7,000 back at the end of the year because this offense is going to be explosive. This defense by Vic Fangio is going to be dynamic. A 150% deposit bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000 with code YouTube150. Click the link in the description below. Start betting and start winning. So Isiah Rodgers comes to the fold. I feel so torn right now because, man, we just saw Quinyon Mitchell last week as the technical home opener in Brazil against the Packers and what he did. I think he was targeted like 10 times for like 80-something yards, something like that. But it makes you think because Isiah Rodgers was picked up, last year, early last season, going into got caught for gambling, got suspended the whole year. But we knew the type of player we got in him, not only from a special teams pedigree, but as a legit starting cornerback in the league. And it seemed like there was no other teams involved on picking him up. The Eagles were the only team that were interested in picking up Isiah Rodgers. So Isiah Rodgers is really playing with a big chip on his shoulder. Okay. Now, from some of the news, we understand that the last day of training camp, we understand there was a hand injury, so we didn't know what the hand injury was. I guess maybe he tweaked it, maybe something happened. But we did find out that Isiah Rodgers broke a bone in his right hand, which we all didn't know this, needed to get surgery on it, now he's back. Okay, so that's why he missed that first game. So we probably would have had Isiah Rodgers for the first game, but we thought it was a small little hand injury, but I guess he broke a bone. And trust me, I don't know how he's back so fast. It must have been very quick, but it's been a few weeks, obviously. So he is back, and how much of a difference is Isiah Rodgers going to make? Do you Eagle fans feel comfortable? Do us Eagle fans feel comfortable in Isiah Rodgers being the number 2? Do you feel like moving Quinyon to the inside is probably an upgrade? I think so, just because I think Avonte Maddox was the worst corner that did play in that game on Friday night. And unfortunately for us, not really unfortunately, but, Cooper DeJean is still sounding like he's going to be on a pitch count, not going to be playing much of anything, hasn't really caught up yet with what, Vic Fangio wants him to do. So we still have to wait probably a couple more weeks for Cooper DeJean to really start to get his sights on a position where they slowly put him in because he's not redshirting for the rest of the year. Quinyon on the inside, it doesn't hurt us. Obviously, we know going into next season, it'll be a lot different depending on how good Isiah Rodgers plays. I don't know if the Eagles really want to sign a cornerback to really big money. So say Isiah Rodgers has a fantastic year, a bona fide, crazy, fantastic year where us fans are saying, man, can we even afford to let him go? Okay? Because you're not paying Cooper DeJean for a few years. You're not paying Quinyon Mitchell for a few years. So You have a fifth-year option with obviously Quinyon Mitchell as a first-round pick, so there's some leeway there. But this Isiah Rodgers thing has been more of a distraction, or it's more of he's kind of getting in the way of the young first-round pick rookie and Quinyon Mitchell. I don't know, guys. Like, I feel like they should put the best on the field. I think the best combination they could make in this game on Monday night is having Isiah Rodgers play as a number 2 and Quinyon being on the inside. Like I said, it is an upgrade over Avonte Maddox on the inside. But at the same time, it's nice that we've seen Quinyon play more nickel than really more outside in the offseason program. Okay, even in the beginning when, Fangio really gambled on changing Quinyon Mitchell out of position, putting him in at nickel. Didn't make much noise in the beginning. And then once the pads came on, he really started to get his best practices against Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. And you know what I mean? So nickel is a very it's a different position than outside corner. Could be facing the tight ends. Could be facing some speed guys on the inside. So there's really a lot that you have to be ready for it. But I think Avonte Maddox's biggest weakness is facing those big tight ends, those tall wide receivers, draping all over them, but just not being able to make a play. Like I said, was probably the worst guy in the secondary we have, but a nice hybrid place for this defense. So I don't take anything from Avonte Maddox, but he's healthy, so that's a great thing. He's the backup nickel. He's the backup pretty much safety at this point. Since Bradbury is still out, and Tristan McCollum seem very comfortable with Tristan McCollum, and Tristan McCollum only got the playing time because Avonte Maddox was already playing, and they at the nickel spot, and they really didn't have anybody else. So Isiah Rodgers is coming in with the biggest chip on his shoulder that all these teams passed on him, picked him up, didn't believe that he would come back, come back and play well, I guess. So it seems like he's written every other team off, and I guess everybody's going to pay the price that's in front of Isiah Rodgers. So do you think Isiah Rodgers is a nice combination on the outside? Like, he hasn't played in a while. He hasn't played in a bit. It's been a while, okay? I don't care if he's been in training camp. He hasn't played in a bit, okay? He's had some preseason snaps, which is great. Not a lot, but hopefully we're going to see a big difference down the road with Isiah Rodgers. And I'm hoping he doesn't struggle too much because he hasn't really, hasn't been in an actual game since before, he was signed here. So it's kind of crazy. So that's the news on Isiah Rodgers coming in, except Quinyon Mitchell will be on the inside. And I think we just have to swallow our pride and say, yes, we know we want Quinyon on the outside, but it's just not going to happen right now. So I do like the combination. Can't wait until we get to see Isiah Rodgers in full effect on Monday Night Football. Now, secondly, I know this is probably going to be a waste of time, but maybe it's not, guys, because specifically there's a certain individual that played for the Eagles that could be on the trade block as of right now, okay? There has been Hassan Reddick news swirling, okay? It's been swirling, okay? He hasn't showed up to Jets OTAs. He didn't show up to Jets training camp. He missed the first game. He has forked over really $3 million pretty much to the Jets on holding out, as he has been holding out for this new contract. Trust me, we've been through the situation. We know what happened, okay? The pen and paper was not ready for Hassan when he was traded. I don't know what the Jets were thinking. But more, and this was from Jeremy Fowler saying, from Week 2 buzz file, multiple league executives believe the Jets will eventually need to explore flipping Hassan Reddick via trade as the contract and passes has no end in sight, okay? Now, more news, quote unquote, per league sources. So it says the bad blood has boiled over, and now teams around the league are curious as to what the Jets will do if he doesn't show. Their options appear clear. Keep him on the reserve list until he reports or attempts to trade him closer to the trade deadline. The latter is looking more likely, according to multiple league executives. So either the Jets can hold on to Hassan Reddick, okay, and they just, I mean, I would think because if they lose more games, their defense is struggling, and they really do need Hassan Reddick, maybe they do cave into what he needs, what he wants. I don't think teams are looking at Reddick as the bad person of this whole entire thing, okay? He didn't sign with a team. He wasn't a free agent. He was traded from Philadelphia to the Jets. A 26th third-round conditional pick went to, the Philadelphia Eagles, okay? The Eagles can get a second-round pick if he plays over 60-something% of the snaps, 10-plus sacks. So I don't think teams are looking at Hassan Reddick being the bad egg. And for me, $14 million in 1 year is a lot of money, but not enough for what statistics that Hassan Reddick has put up. Okay, he definitely deserves more money. So the Eagles went out and got another guy that was just $3 million more. But I think teams are pretty serious about acquiring him. Does Howie Roseman have it in him to try to get him back and say, hey, Hassan, look, we're playing really good right now, and hopefully by the time we're having a good record by this time, playoff implications, the playoffs, the Eagles could be there. They should be there. Hassan Reddick getting traded back to the Philadelphia Eagles would be the weirdest thing probably, and this would check off Howie Roseman. As much as an OG that Howie Roseman is, it would check him off as one of the best, most crazy GMs we have ever lived to see to be around in this generation. To trade him away, get a draft pick. Maybe the Eagles send a draft pick back just to make them happy, just to get Hassan off their hands. The Eagles have $24.5 million in cap space. The Eagles have enough cap space for the year, okay? I don't know what Reddick's cap number is. It's probably not that much, okay? But what if there's a team out there that's not willing to give him the contract that he wants? That's really the next step to this whole thing. Okay, the first step is, yes, teams could have a lot of interest in Hassan Reddick, but at the same time, how much does he want? What the contract looks like? It seems like Reddick has been real sticking with one number. Okay. And the Eagles didn't want to deal with it, and they want to pull the Band-Aid off, rip the Band-Aid off as fast as possible. Say, all right, Reddick, we're going to trade you, and that's it. It was probably the most ridiculous number that the Eagles are not even ridiculous, but it's just the Eagles are just not in that right now. They're just not in that, financially to put that much into a guy that hit 30 years old in September. Okay. It's a lot of money. And why do you think the Eagles didn't keep Javon Hargrave at 20 million, 20 something $20 million? They let him go. They figured they'd go draft some, they would draft a replacement or whatever. The Eagles drafts have been pretty good at trying to replace. But I feel like, yes, the Eagles lost Hassan. They lost a closer. They didn't lose a consistent guy every single game because he wasn't consistent every game. Okay, he's a streaky player. 1 month he'll have 0 sacks. Another month he'll have 7. And it seems like from what the news was saying all year last year is just Hassan has been just chasing sack numbers, not really caring about anything else. Why do edge rushers get paid? They get paid not to be in coverage. They get, if you get interceptions, that's even better. That even puts more money on your next contract. But you get paid as an edge rusher to get sacks on the quarterback, to get to the quarterback. I don't think they care about your hurries. They don't really care about your pressures. They care about that one number, and that's what it seems like. Okay. Reddick definitely deserves more than $14.5 million for this year. There's no doubt about it. I'm not putting it past Reddick. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it. He deserves it. It's just that the Eagles are not in that financial realm right now. Do I think they should have kept him as a pure edge rusher for this scheme? Surely. But if the Eagles go up and say, hey, you know what? Let's try to get something done. Reddick might not want to play for another team. He might say, let me go back to Philadelphia. If they're willing to accept me back, I'll go back, and this will be all over the news. If Reddick ever went back to the Eagles after all of this, put the king crown on Howie Roseman, because this has never happened before. This has never, ever happened in the league, ever in the history of the league. Okay, we've seen draft trades. We've seen quarterback draft trades in the past. We've seen coaches. I mean, seriously, there's been weird stuff for a lot of years in the NFL. This would be something I have never seen while being really alive and knowing that the Eagles traded somebody away, get him back, You know, like is Reddick wanting to go to a new team if they're not going to give him the money he wants? Or is he just going to say, you know what, let me just play out the rest of the year, hit free agency, and then everything will be a lot easier. This way I can make the decisions with my agent, and I can get the promise of another team that's going to pay me what I deserve. You know, he can add to his resume being in Philadelphia with an already good defensive line. I say okay. I say not crazy because we've only been through one game so far, but, you know, I think the Eagles still need a little bit more on that edge because we haven't seen Jalix Hunt play yet, a real game in the NFL yet. Nolan Smith, nothing crazy there. You know, I just think you need a little bit more, okay? I'm not singling anybody out. I'm saying is what I've seen. We know the field conditions were horrible on Friday night, so we're hoping that once Monday comes, Monday night, we're going to see a totally different defensive line because they're not going to be slipping and sliding like a water slide on the field, okay? So the Jets could hold on to him and say, let him just take these penalties every single week and give us our money back, or they can say, hey, let's see who's available. And then Hassan Reddick's going to say, well, if I get traded somewhere, he's got to like the team. He probably wants to win a Super Bowl unless the money is all he cares about. We don't know what's happening in Hassan Reddick's head right now. If it's just the money, is it team and money? You know, so the Jets primarily, I think, have a good defense, okay? And Reddick joined a pretty good defense. A lot of great players on that team. Unfortunately, their offense couldn't sustain anything on Monday night, so, you know, they would have definitely liked Reddick's services, no doubt. But I have ranted and raved for too long in this video, and I want to know your thoughts on the Hassan Reddick situation. Could Howie Roseman pull it off? In my opinion, I don't think he's going to, but every time I talk about something like this, fans always say, oh, we're not trading for Jahan Dotson. We're not getting A.J. Brown. We're not, it wouldn't shock me if he tried, at least it wouldn't shock me if he picked up the phone and called Joe Douglas. Him and Howie are like this, okay? It wouldn't shock me, okay? But never say never, because things could happen. I don't think the Eagles are giving that pick back, but they could give a late round pick back just to at least say, hey, we'll give you something back. You know, the Eagles probably won't give them high compensation for Reddick. It's just not going to happen. Okay, maybe another team will, but it all depends on what Hassan Reddick wants, the number he wants, and if a team's ready to sign him to the number he wants, then he goes there, unless it's the team he doesn't want to go to. So it's going to be really interesting how this pans out the next few weeks by the trade deadline and see what happens. So I know I've been rambling about the situation, going back and forth. You guys let me know in the comment section below what you guys think. And let me know what you guys think about the Isiah Rodgers, you know, just him becoming the number 2 corner this week. Are you excited? Are you excited for Quinyon to be on the inside? Are you just tearing at the heart right now that Quinyon is not playing on the outside for the Philadelphia Eagles? You guys let me know in the comment section below. And this video is sponsored by BetUS. Get 150% deposit bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000. Promo code YouTube150. And I will see you guys on the next one. Peace out.